Welcome back to Playing for Keeps, the business of sports. I am your host, the voice, Milt Thompson. And we're talking with Anthony Schoettle of the IBJ, and he's been spinning the insides with me about the NFL and its lockout. And what started out maybe as some optimism that a deal may get done has really turned into some pessimism that it may not get done. There are all kinds of critical issues that still remain, and one we talked about in the last segment was about their health and safety and reconciling that with an expanded business model for more revenue to be poured into it. Let's talk about the unrepresented group that they all give some lip service to, and that's the consumer, the fans. The fans are the ones left frustrated, not really understanding the behind-the-scenes hate and venom that's being spewed by both sides. They don't understand the nature of a large market and a big market, maybe don't even care to understand why the economics. All they know is that they may not have their favorite product as it's been designed on a Sunday afternoon or a Monday night or a Thursday night or probably every night of the week as it's being exploited. What do you tell the consumer out there? You hear the commissioner and the head of the union saying, the fans want this and we want what the fans want. But do they really care about the fans, and what lessons can they learn from past work stoppages?
Sometimes, Milt, I think if you take a very short view of things, you begin to believe that things will never change and that things were never unlike the way they are now. And I'm going to talk for just a second about something that's completely unrelated to football, because you have such a high, incredible demand in the United States for football. 111 million households watch the Super Bowl every year. That's very, very close to 50% of all households across the country, from Bismarck, North Dakota to New York City. But think about that for just a second. 111 million households. Now we're not even including bars and sporting places and all those other sorts of public domains that show the game. So you've probably got, I'm guessing, 65%, 2 out of every 3 Americans watch the Super Bowl. Now let's look at open wheel racing for just a second. Pre-1995, open wheel racing was tremendously expensive, attractive to fans, extremely popular. It had $700 million in sponsorship coming in. It had another $800 million in sponsor spending on marketing and advertising coming in. That money has slowed down to a very, very short trickle in open wheel racing now because of some decisions that were made that were not in the interest of the fans. Divided it into 2 series. One series went one way, one series went the other. One series took these drivers, one series took those drivers. And here we are 15, 20 years down the road, and open wheel racing is a shell of its former self. It hasn't recovered. It may never recover. It likely won't recover. A.J. Foyt, Mario Andretti, Al Unser, Bobby Unser are all gone. So there's going to come a day where Peyton Manning and all these guys are gone, and there's some other product out there, or maybe NBA basketball is surging, or maybe soccer becomes a global sport everybody says that it will. Heck, I don't know, maybe cycling comes over from Europe and goes wild, or track and field. Who knows what other new sport may hit the board. So I think if the NFL takes a little longer view of history and really, truly wants to service the fan and do what's good for the fan, most fans are against the 18-game season, Milt. Will they watch an 18-game season? Yes. A small group of season ticket holders, it's a very small group of NFL fans nationwide and worldwide, they are tired of watching preseason games, because the deal is you buy 16 regular season games and you're required to buy the 4 preseason games at full price. And people are saying that's garbage, because that's a bunch of scrubs playing and we don't want to watch it, we don't want to pay for it. So you have a very small slice asking for a different setup. But most fans, most football consuming fans, I believe, and I've heard, would prefer a 16-game season. So why the demand for 18 games? It's a money grab by the owners. And Thursday nights, that's split. I really believe that's split. I personally enjoy Thursday night football. Is it good for the players? That would be a question probably for a medical doctor or a team trainer. I couldn't answer that. But I'll tell you what it is good for. It's good for the owners. You get another TV deal out of it, or you leverage people over to the NFL Network, which makes money through getting that on cable systems, which pay by the subscriber. So I think that the NFL owners need to take pause for just a second. I think they're doing one good thing here. And I think that they're willing to sacrifice one good thing for themselves, I should say. I think they're willing to sacrifice part of the season. I think the $400 million or $1 billion if you miss a few games, regular season games, is small potatoes compared to what they hope to gain over the next 6 to 8 years, whatever this collective bargaining thing is. What I would hope that they would do is take a longer view on what they call fan avidity. And is that going to subtract or multiply by what you're doing with this next deal? And I don't know that that question's been asked. I think the questions are, can we get it from the players, and can we wring some money out of it in the next 5 years? And I think that's pretty short-sighted.
Right, and they really truly don't care about the fans because they can say, well, after every other work stoppage, fans do come back. You may lose a few, but they come back, and they come back in droves. Major League Baseball, for example, has more fans now since the strike, where everyone said, I'm done with baseball, I'm done with baseball. As soon as they were done with baseball, if your team was winning, they're right back at the ballpark.
And let's take a microscopic view of something just for a second, the Colts. Does anybody remember what the stadium in Baltimore looked like in 1983? It was, you could have fired a cannon across the place and not hit anybody. And even some lean years in Indianapolis, you know, and now the demand is so great for Colts tickets and anything Colts that it's difficult. Talk to Ray Compton, the former VP of marketing for the Colts, about the lean years with the Colts. Now they've got a waiting list 30,000 long for tickets. But if you begin to believe, or if you begin to let yourself believe that that's going to be the case in perpetuity, if the owners do that, or even an individual owner, then someday Rome is going to fall, and they're in for a rude awakening. The fans are only going to take so much. I mean, baseball did a lot to try to woo the fans back. And baseball is a really unique product.
Turning this back on steroids, for example?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But let's not confuse football yet with baseball. Baseball goes back centuries. Football does not. Baseball has fans through grandfathers and fathers and sons. Football isn't there yet. And they better be careful or they're not going to get there. The NBA is finding out the hard way this lesson, because remember the NBA of the 80s? I mean, it was rocking and rolling. I mean, player salaries were going up and up. Arenas were full, including Conseco Fieldhouse in the 90s and early 2000s. And then that began to topple. And now you've got a real serious problem with the National Basketball Association. Different sport, different time, but I think those lessons can be transferred over to the NFL.
Well, since we're making that segue into the NBA labor dispute there is a little different than that from the NFL about the matters about which we've just discussed. But it's most certainly got something to do with a business model that is losing money, not one that is making money. David
Stern said, the commissioner of the NBA said, the NBA and its teams lost $340 million this year. They lost $300 million the year before that. 22 out of 30 NBA teams, he said, will lose money this year. Now, Forbes said 11 teams. So I want to say,
how reliable is that information?
I want to say that we have an independent source, Forbes, and I have a lot of respect for the work that they do with team valuation, is very closely aligned to what David Stern is saying. David Stern has also been more forthcoming with the financials than has Roger Goodell in the NFL. They've got a serious problem, and they're asking for...
It's hard to hide winning books.
It is. It is.
It's easier to disclose losing books when you're trying to get more.
It is. And as I said earlier, you know, the Indiana Pacers, Herb Simon, before that Herb and Mel Simon, have lost in the order of $285 million since they bought the franchise in 1983. This according to team president Jim Morris. $30 million last year, $30 million the year before. They've come to the city's capital improvement board for help. And they're not alone. Milwaukee, New Jersey, team after team in small and mid-sized markets are losing tons of money. You know, the teams that are making money are New York, LA, Chicago. You know, you can count them on one hand. The Dallas Mavericks lost $7 million last year. They won the NBA championship. And a lot of other winning teams are losing money. You know, part of this can be blamed on the owners, and that they're the ones who've let the
a soft salary cap.
That's right. They've let the salaries escalate, and now basically they're asking somebody to bail themselves out because, you know, the current system just cannot continue.
Anthony, people are going to continue to read your work. They're also going to continue to watch and listen to you because you bring the nitty-gritty, hard data and facts behind your views. Really appreciate you taking time to be on our inaugural show here on Playing for Keeps. How do they reach you?
www.ibj.com/the score.
And the score, you're going to score a grand slam when you continue to watch and listen to Playing for Keeps, the business of sports. I am your host, the voice, Milt Thompson. We'll see you next time.